Florence Henry Falcon coach Nate Russell joins us. And coach, well, let's talk about this year. Tell us a little bit about the Falcons. Who are some of the names that we're going to be calling out this year?
Yeah, we are a pretty senior led team. We have, I think, in the neighborhood of 9 seniors, if I counted correctly. And a few of those names you're going to hear pretty frequently. Tucker Keller will be a big part of the team, both offensively and defensively. Dawson Lavacek will be a big part of the team, offensively and defensively. And we do have a good amount of youth that'll see some time and be on the field, special teams, or in certain scenarios. And so I think the team is in a really good place as far as a mix between experience and seniority. And I think that's going to play a large part in this season.
I'm sure it does help, though, 9 seniors to have some of that senior leadership in a big class for Florence Henry.
Yeah, that's one thing that was really surprising last year was we started at a roster of 22, we grew to a roster of 32, and it was really encouraging to see this year how we retained. We're at 29 right now, I think it is. And so when you graduate a very minimal amount, it's easy to retain the numbers, but it's not always easy to get them to come back year over year, which was really encouraging.
Well, last year you had the 2 wins on the year. This year you started out, didn't get that first win of the year, but it is homecoming coming up this weekend. But we'll talk about that here in a moment. What did you see out of your team in that first game that, first of all, you liked?
Things that I liked. We played with a really great intensity. Didn't matter who was on the field. We made sure that we were going 100 miles an hour, the direction we needed to go. And other things that looked really good. We have a couple of new things that we've installed across the fall and across the summer. Those seem to be going the right direction. There's obviously always things to work on, but they seem to be taking to those both offensively and defensively.
On the other side of the coin, what are some of the things that you kind of struggled with last Friday night?
I think the biggest thing that was a challenge for us was as the game kind of wore on and you start to feel that fatigue from playing a full football game, the technique and the attention to detail can start to deteriorate. And I think we missed a few plays and we left a couple of things on the field that we'd like to get back through missing technique and some of that kind of breaking down. And so that's our big focus for this week is clean up some of those small, fine details so that we can continue to make plays for the entire length of the game.
Well, let's talk about your team as a whole here. What do you feel like your identity is going to be this year? I know you've only got like one game under the book, but what do you really feel like maybe this is going to be who we are this year?
Yeah, as far as offensive identity, we are going to be run the football, right? We have to establish ourselves as the physical team. And on the defense, really being a team that rallies to the ball, right? Not taking any plays off, making sure that we're getting everybody to the ball as much as possible. And that kind of feeds into that, I'm going to say, identity or mantra as a whole as a team, which is be as physical as possible as we can, and then make sure that we are 100% effort every opportunity we have.
Well, let's talk about Friday night homecoming. And because you're a co-op with Florence and Henry, you get two homecomings this year. And the one question I always like to ask coaches is it's homecoming. What do you do to kind of minimize those distractions when it comes to homecoming week? Not only in one week, but you get two.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges is how do you minimize them? And I think the way that I have thought about it in the past and I try to convey it is it's not fair to say that you don't get to partake in any of this or you have to ignore it or anything like that. And so for myself, it's about understanding what the week is for, which is really celebrating the schools and the co-op. And I think more than anything, getting them to reframe a lot of those things so that they're not distractions, but they are more motivations and more, I'm going to say, focus sharpeners so that we are as close to focused to the task on hand as we can get.
Well, Friday nights, Waubay Summits team last year. I believe you got the victory because I think I called that one for you. By the way, I'd also like to add both your victories last year, I was on the call for. So we're hoping for 4 victories this year. I'll rub my mohawk for good luck. But coming up on Friday nights, what do you expect out of Waubay Summit? What are you expecting out of your team?
Waubay Summit, they present a really big challenge for us in that they have a brand new coaching staff and they have a bunch of young guys again. And so with the new coaching staff, we get them in week 2. We saw what we saw on film and we know what we think to expect, but they present a largely unknown. They will be a largely new team. For us, what we expect to see, we're going to clean up some of those details, and we think we have a relatively solid game plan as best as you can. Similar to last week's challenge, Estline, we've never really played them before. We've seen them on tape a couple of times, but we also knew they turned over their roster. We knew they were going to do things different than what was already on tape. And so for us, again, if we can control our effort and our attention to detail throughout the game, we are going to lean on that to be the thing that carries us through. And then hopefully in there, we find a way to make a few plays, make a couple of stops, and like you said, hopefully come out with a homecoming win.